Creating abstract macro photography. Creating abstract macro images can be a fun and creative way to explore the world of close-up photography. Here are some tips to help you get started. Find interesting subjects. Look for subjects with intricate textures, patterns, or unique shapes that will lend themselves well to abstraction. Flowers, leaves, water droplets, or even everyday objects like kitchen utensils or fabrics can be great options. Use a macro lens or extension tubes. A macro lens will allow you to get up close and capture the fine details of your subject. Alternatively, you can use extension tubes to turn a regular lens into a macro lens. Experiment with different focal lengths and distances to achieve the desired effect. Experiment with depth of field. Play with different depths of field to create interesting effects. You can use a wide aperture, low f-stop value, to create a shallow depth of field and isolate specific parts of the subject while blurring the rest. Alternatively, you can use a narrow aperture, high f-stop value, to achieve a greater depth of field and capture more details. Focus on textures and patterns. Look for interesting textures or patterns within your subject. Get close and fill the frame with those textures to create abstract images that emphasize the details and intricacies. Experiment with angles and perspectives. Don't be afraid to explore different angles and perspectives. Shoot from unusual angles, from the side, or from below to create unique compositions and perspectives that enhance the abstract feel of your images. Use creative lighting. Experiment with different lighting techniques to add drama and interest to your abstract macro images. You can use backlighting, side lighting, or experiment with shadows and highlights to create depth and dimension. Introduce motion. Incorporate motion into your abstract macro images for a dynamic and artistic look. You can try intentionally moving the camera or subject during a longer exposure or experiment with intentional camera movement, ICM, techniques to create blurred and abstract effects. Experiment with colors. Play with different color combinations and contrasts to create visually striking abstract macro images. Look for vibrant or complementary colors in your subjects or experiment with color gels or filters to add a pop of color. Focus on composition. Composition plays a vital role in abstract photography. Explore different compositional techniques such as leading lines, symmetry, or the rule of thirds to create visually pleasing and balanced compositions. Post-processing and editing. After capturing your abstract macro images, don't be afraid to experiment with post-processing techniques. Adjust the contrast, saturation, or even apply creative filters to enhance the abstract feel of your images. Remember, abstract macro photography is all about creativity and experimentation. Embrace your artistic vision, and don't be afraid to break the rules to create unique and captivating images. Enjoy the process and have fun exploring the world of abstract macro photography. Use multiple exposures. Experiment with multiple exposures to create layered and textured abstract images. You can achieve this by taking several shots of the same subject, slightly adjusting the focus or perspective between each shot. Merge the images together during post-processing to create a unique and abstract composition. Intentional blur. Explore intentional blur techniques to create abstract effects. You can achieve this by deliberately moving the camera or subject during the exposure, creating streaks or swirls of colors. This technique can add a sense of motion and energy to your abstract macro images. Macro details. Focus on capturing the small and often unnoticed details of your subject. Get up close and explore the intricate textures, lines, and shapes that make up the subject. These details can be fascinating and create visually captivating abstract images. Experiment with reflections. Incorporate reflections into your abstract macro images for a unique and surreal effect. Look for reflective surfaces, such as water droplets or shiny objects, to capture distorted and abstract reflections of your subject. Play with color temperature. Experiment with different color temperatures to alter the mood and atmosphere of your abstract macro images. Adjust the white balance settings in your camera or during post-processing to create warm or cool tones, adding an additional layer of abstraction. Silhouettes and shadows. Explore the use of silhouettes and shadows to create abstract shapes and forms. Position your subject in front of a strong light source to create interesting shadows or use backlighting to create a silhouette effect. Macro abstract landscapes. Expand your abstract macro photography beyond single subjects and explore creating abstract landscapes. Look for patterns, textures, and colors in nature, such as rock formations, tree bark, or sand dunes, and capture them up close to create abstract representations of landscapes. Experiment with lens flare. Intentionally introduce lens flare into your images to create a dreamy and ethereal atmosphere. Shoot towards the sun or a strong light source and allow the light to create interesting flares and streaks of light across the frame. Incorporate motion blur. Experiment with intentional motion blur to create dynamic and abstract effects. This can be done by panning with a moving subject or intentionally blurring the background while keeping the subject sharp. Break the rules. Remember, abstract photography is all about pushing boundaries and breaking the rules. Don't be afraid to experiment, try unconventional techniques, and trust your artistic instincts to create unique and captivating abstract macro images.